Hi everyone, welcome to The Singing Chef. Today we're going to be making a beautiful homemade ravioli, spinach, pancetta and ricotta ravioli from scratch to accompany it a beautiful tomato and basil sauce. It's absolutely delicious. Stay with me to know exactly how to make this dish from start to finish. Let's cook.
Right, so we're going to get on and make our pasta for our ravioli. Now, there's lots of different recipes out there for pasta. This one seems to work really well for pretty much every type of pasta you want to make, whether you're making tagliatelle, whether you're making ravioli, anything like that, it will work really well for. The only thing I will say about making pasta dough is it's a little bit of a faff, all right? But we're not going to be using a pasta machine today. Not everyone's got one of those. I've got one in the cupboard. I'm not going to get it out because I'm going to show you guys at home how you can make really easy pasta without using a faffy machine. Okay, so let's get on with it. Really simple. We've got 400 grams, which is pretty much the equivalent of 2 cups of 00 fine grade flour. That goes into our mixing bowl. And we've got 3 medium to large size eggs. Make a little well, okay, in your pasta because we're going to put our eggs straight into the middle of that little well and we're going to slowly fold the flour in, okay? So 3 eggs. So we've got our 3 eggs in our flour and all we need to do to this is just add a little bit of olive oil, just like that. And we're ready to start mixing it in. So all we want to do is start folding our flour into our eggs. Like that. And then when you get it down to the last little bit in there, you can give it some of this business and really start mixing it in. And what will happen is you'll get this sort of crumbly, looks a bit of a mess at the moment. Bear with me. And when you sort of got to the stage where you can't really do anything else much with your fork, you want to just get your hands in there and start bringing everything in. Now, if it's a little bit too dry, not a problem, just add a little bit of water. If it's a bit too wet, add a bit more flour. It's really that simple. And what you want to end up with is a really nice formed dough. We've got our dough out onto our board, and at this stage we just want to, with nice freshly cleaned hands, because they will get a little bit sticky, is just start kneading this. Now we need to knead this, and this is really important, for about 10 minutes, alright? This will be the same application if you were making a pizza dough. The kneading process is exactly the same. And it does take a little bit of time, but 10 minutes of this sounds a bit of a palaver, but when you've done it, it's really satisfying. And you will have the most beautiful pasta dough. And your friends and family will absolutely love it. Okay, so we've finished kneading our pasta dough and it's at a lovely stage now where if you put your finger in, it should just bounce back nicely, which it has. And this is pretty much ready to go in the fridge, as I say, for about an hour, and then it's ready to make into whatever pasta shapes you like. So we're going to get on with our filling now. So in a preheated pan on a medium to high heat, we want to get some smoked pancetta. Goes in. And we want to cook this until it's really nice and sort of browned over. Not crispy, we don't want it crispy, but we want to get a little bit of colour on it. because we're going to be blending this with a mixture of other ingredients to form a really beautiful, lovely filling for our ravioli. Right, so we've taken our pan of pancetta off the heat now. We've got a little bit of colour on it. Now, there's a little bit of sort of excess fat in there. Not a great deal, but you kind of want it in there because it's got a lot of flavour. It's not absolutely drowning in it, but you've got a little bit of fat still left in the pan there. So we're going to keep that in there. Now, to that pan, we've got some already cooked spinach. Now, I cooked this earlier on the hob. Literally just saute it off, a little bit of olive oil. When you've let it cool down and when it's come off the heat, just get it in the palm of your hands and just squeeze any of the excess moisture out of the spinach into the sink, because you don't want a watery ravioli or a watery filling, so to speak. So we can get our cooked spinach in there. Then we've got some really lovely Italian ricotta cheese, and we want about 3 generous tablespoons. So we've got our ricotta, spinach and pancetta in this pan. So this is what's going to be our filling. Now you can give it a good little stir in there, like that. So all we need to do to that now is just season it up. So we want to get ourselves some nice black pepper. Be quite generous, because pepper and cheese, pancetta goes really well. You've got quite a bit of natural salt in that pancetta, but I'm going to put just a tiny little bit of sea salt, because don't forget we're working with pasta today and we don't want anything tasting too bland. So just give that one final little mix, and just to keep that a nice consistency, we want to just add just a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. So that now can go into a bowl. You can put that back into the fridge. What will happen is that will then sort of solidify a little bit, and you'll have a much easier, pliable filling to work with when we come to make our ravioli a little bit later on in the video. Okay, so we've had a good hour in the fridge with our pasta dough. So we're now going to take the cling film off, and we can start making this into our raviolis. So we've finished rolling out our pasta dough, and I would say that we've got the thickness of like a tortilla bread, okay? I can just about see my hand through that. The viewfinder might not be able to pick that up, but you can see how sort of really thin and lovely that has rolled out to. And at this stage, of course, if we're not making ravioli, you could cut that into pappardelle, into tagliatelle, whatever pasta shapes you like. You know, we could make some really beautiful lasagna sheets. Obviously you'd need a lot more, but this is just an example at this stage to show you how we actually make our raviolis. So all we're going to do is we're going to start off this way, and we want to just trim off those other edges. Don't throw this. This is absolutely fine. We can use this in the other bit. And we just want to trim up so we've got some nice square edges. Same with here. As I say, we're not going to throw any of these offcuts because they'll go back into the other dough ball, and then we can just quickly reply it all up again. So here we are at this stage. Now you can either make 2 similar strips or just keep it as one. I prefer to keep it as one because I'll show you why in just a moment. Okay, so I've trimmed my pasta up into the size and shape that I want it. I've put 3 small, just more than a teaspoon of the filling onto one side of the pasta, allowing a roughly 2 centimetre gap between each part of the filling. Okay, and you'll see why in just a moment, because what we're going to do now is we're going to fold over our pasta, okay, and just where the filling stops, you want to start pressing in with your fingers, like that. You don't need to add any water to the edges to try and sort of glue it. I'll show you how to crimp these in a moment, so as not to cause or leave any gaps. And same thing applies for where the mixture is separated inside. Okay, just like that. It is that simple. People think this is really intricate. Yeah, it's a little bit of a faff, but do you know what? There's something really quite satisfying about making ravioli. In fact, making pasta in general is really quite a nice thing. If you've got a bit of spare time, you know, we haven't always got spare time. And this is something you can do in advance. Again, if you want to make fresh pasta, make your pizza dough. Make your pasta dough, you know, a day or two in advance. It's not a problem. And then it's there for when you want to use it. Okay, so we've now pressed our pasta down. Now, with a sharp knife, just where you've got your little separations there, you just want to make a cut. 1 and 2. And you'll have a little bit of excess here. Don't take too much off. It's sometimes nice to leave a little bit of excess pasta on the ravioli. Any offcuts, as I say, don't throw them away. Just put them back onto your other piece of dough that we made. And now you've got something that's starting to look a little bit like little parcels. These are our raviolis, so we need a little fork. And this is where it gets a little bit chefy, I suppose. I don't know. There is a reason for doing this, other than being decorative and chefy, is this is what will actually crimp our pasta divisions together. So we just take our fork and we just press down like so, and that will crimp our pasta together so we don't end up with our filling all over the place. And there you have it. We've got our ravioli made. Okay, obviously you can do this as I say, with a bigger bit of dough and make loads of these all at once, but I've got a very small workspace here, so I'm just showing you how to make 3. So our ravioli is now complete. Little parcels of absolute joy, as you can see. I mean, just imagine when you bite into one of those, when they're cooked, they're going to be absolutely gorgeous with that beautiful homemade filling. So all we need to do really to cook these is get a pan of boiling water, and we need to cook them for about 2.5 minutes. And we're going to serve these with a beautiful homemade Italian tomato and basil sauce, which I'm going to show you in the next step. Okay, so for our beautiful ravioli sauce, we're going to make a lovely tomato Italian style sauce. Okay, so we've got our blender here, and we've got 2 tomatoes, which I've just chopped in half. They go in. We've got 1 small onion, 1 clove of garlic, and I don't know, just a small handful of basil can go in. Don't be delicate about the measures, just do it to your liking, pretty much. This will roughly make enough sauce for 1 to 2 people. So we want some black pepper. We want some salt, absolutely, goes in. Tomatoes and salt absolutely go well, and we need a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. Give that a little wazz up. So we've just blitzed those ingredients. Now this is quite important. We want to get ourselves a tablespoon, maybe 2 tablespoons of tomato puree goes in. Because what we need to do is thicken this sauce. Because we've used fresh tomatoes, they're quite watery, and we don't want a watery sauce, okay? We want this to be quite a nice, thick consistency, and you'll also see that the colour will change, okay? So don't be alarmed if your sauce, when you've blitzed it, looks a little bit pale. It always does when you're using fresh tomatoes, okay? But as soon as you get that tomato paste in there, the colour will start to darken, and that's when we now need to start thinking about getting this on the heat. Right, so we're now on the heat, and I would say we're on a good sort of medium to high heat, and we just want to get this sort of moving in the pan now. We want to get the heat in there. We want to start releasing all of those lovely flavours. Okay, we've got the onion, we've got the garlic, we've got the fresh basil, we've got the freshly cracked black pepper. It's going to be absolutely beautiful, and it's going to taste absolutely sensational served up with our ravioli. So we're now starting to get a little bit of heat in there. As you can see, there's a little bit of steam coming off, and we want to just let that bubble away for about 2.5–3 minutes, and we should be in a good place. So our sauce has had about 5 to 6 minutes on the hob on a medium heat, stirring continuously. And we've got a beautiful pasta sauce here now. What I am going to do is just add a little pinch of sugar. Now this is roughly about, I don't know, a teaspoon goes in, because I find with using tomatoes, even tin tomatoes, they can be a little bit acidic, and we just want a really lovely all-round sort of rounded flavoured sauce. Okay, so a little bit of sugar absolutely transforms your pasta sauce into something really delicious, and we're using fresh ingredients. Honestly, you will not want to go back to using jars of anything, tinned anything. Once you've done it this way, you'll be doing this time and time and time again. However much of a faff it might be, all right, there is a little bit of faff involved, but anything that's tasty, that requires, you know, just a little bit of effort, you know, you just know it's going to be good when you get it to the table, all right? And if you're doing this for friends, for family, they're going to be absolutely, oh my God, when it comes to the table. Right, so the final stages of this, putting this dish together, we've got our pan of boiling water. I've put a teaspoon of salt in there. Absolutely make sure you salt your pasta water. If you don't, your pasta will just taste of absolutely nothing. All right. And the last thing we want to do at this stage is mess up our seasonings, because this is quite a delicate sort of process now. We've got to keep our eye on the hob. Okay, we can't just go walking off having a conversation about last night's football scores or whatever. Okay, this does require real concentration, because we want to make sure that our water is boiling. Okay, when we put our ravioli into this water, we've got to stand here and make sure that we don't leave it in there for too long, okay, because it's fresh pasta. It's not like the old dry stuff that you get, which you can leave on the hob for about 15 minutes, okay. This is fresh pasta, and we need to make sure that that is on the hob for no more than about 2.5, maybe even 3 minutes. We'll see how we go. It's pretty much a sort of observe and gauge yourself kind of thing, really, like how long's a piece of string. But I will say to you now that fresh pasta doesn't take very long at all. So we're going to be looking at roughly sort of 2 to 2.5 minutes. That's it, all right? Straight in to serving up, and we'll get to that stage in just a moment. So we'll do a little jump cut. Okay, so we've got our pasta sauce just coming up to heat again here. That's blipping away really nicely. Okay, this is the bit where we've got to stay focused, okay? Don't go wandering off and messing about. We've got to have real eyes and concentration on this hob area now, because this is where it starts to get a little bit exciting. Okay, we've got our pasta water come pretty much to a really nice boil. We want to drop the heat on there just a little bit, and we want to take our raviolis and we just want to plop them in nice and gently for about 2.5–3 minutes, and pretty much when they start floating, you know that you're in a good place. Okay, so we're pretty much ready to serve up now. I'm going to take everything off the heat. We need to get our pastas. Look at them, absolutely gorgeous. You won't want to be buying ravioli in the supermarkets ever again when you can make it like this. I mean, come on! You know, this is serious cooking. You do this for friends or family, they ain't going to want to go home. I'm telling you now. Real good shake. Make sure there's no water left on that pasta. Now, at this stage, right, you want to get that sauce served up pretty much immediately. Don't muck about. Pasta waits for nobody, all right? And all you want to do is get some of that sauce, that beautiful homemade tomato sauce, straight over your ravioli. Get yourself a little bit of freshly grated Parmesan. You can use a little bit of pecorino if you've got some kicking about. Parmesan, I think, works really well with tomato and pasta. Last but not least, get yourself some freshly sliced basil leaves and just over the top. You know, don't get too delicate. And absolutely, you want to finish that off with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. And there you have it. That is a homemade tomato, spinach, pancetta and ricotta ravioli. And I'll see you next time on The Singing Chef.